You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGachy, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Yo, what is up, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. You know I appreciate it, and I'm stoked to get you this conversation. A little bit of house cleaning real quick before we get into this episode with Mr. Selvidge. I just wanted to let you know that if you checked out the American Cyclops release, which is what I am calling myself musically these days, it's a few episodes back. It's called Tom, Do You Have Anything Sharp on You? I'm sure you're getting tired of me talking about it, but, you know, there's a lot of plugging I gotta do. I'm doing this all by my lonesome. But I wanted to let you know, in case you missed it on the socials, I am prepping to do a vinyl release. And the first 120 copies will be signed by yours truly. And why 120? Because that is the number I need to sell to break even on the minimum runs for this project. So if you like vinyl and you enjoyed that, you can check it out at tonemob.com/store and pre-order it there. It's $25 plus shipping. And I've never done a vinyl release before, so this is new territory for me. But if you enjoyed that record or you just want to support the show, that is something you can do. And yeah, I'm doing this all by myself, totally independently. So hopefully there's enough people who enjoyed that weirdness to throw a few bucks at it and get something kind of cool in the process. And if you haven't listened to it, it's available exclusively on this podcast feed for the next few months. You can go back a few episodes. You'll see it's called Tom, Do You Have Anything Sharp on You? And you can check out the whole thing. And for those that have asked, yes, I am going to do a digital, like a regular digital release through Bandcamp and all the regular places, Spotify, etc., when the podcast exclusive period is over. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that is explained back on that episode. Okay, enough about that. I think we're about wrapped up with the housekeeping. Oh yeah, real quick, I want to thank everybody who's been using tonemob.com/Sweetwater for their gear shopping needs. If you need anything and Sweetwater carries it, that helps the show out immensely. I can't believe how many people have been using that link, and Sweetwater has been an absolutely fantastic partner, and they actually share a pretty decent percentage with me when you do that. And it doesn't cost you anything extra, so tonemob.com/Sweetwater is the place for that. But they, of course, don't carry everything, and if you're looking for something vintage or more off the wall, tonemob.com/Reverb is the place to go for that. You do all your normal Reverb shopping, you check out through that link, and wham bam, a little bit comes back and helps support the show, and they've been great as well. So those are the places to go, and thank you for those who are using those links. It helps immensely. All right, enough blabber. Let's get into more blabber with Mr. Steve Selvidge. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, occasionally, once in a while, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Steve Selvidge from...
Hey. Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have Steve Selvidge from The Hold Steady and a lot of other stuff as well. Good to talk to you today.
Man, good to be here. And I mean that.
Man, well, before we get started, I think it might be kind of funny to pull back the curtain a little bit because we had some technical difficulties getting started. And the last person I talked to that was in Memphis also had some technical difficulties. And I believe you two know each other. And that would be Brian Venable from Lucero.
Oh, yeah.
We had quite the time getting connected. And I still don't really know what happened, but we made it work. And it was a blast of an episode. I'm sure this will be the same.
Oh wow. Well, maybe Brian's behind all this.
Maybe he is.
He's sabotaging me.
I'm gonna text him and find out. Yeah. So that I thought that was just a slightly funny note. It's like the last guy I talked to from Memphis was also having issues. But anyway, we're here now.
Yes.
For the audience that may not be as familiar with you as I am, maybe we can do a 30,000 foot view of your career. What do you say?
Sure. You want me to tell you that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should tell me.
All right. Well, yeah, I was, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. My dad, Sid Selvidge, was a musician, kind of folk blues singer-songwriter guy. And in the 90s, I had a band called Big Truck that kind of did some touring. And back when they used to put videos on MTV, we had some of those on there. And played with a bunch of other people. Dave Schaus from the Grifters with the band called Bloodthirsty Lovers, and eventually wound up in the Hold Steady, where I've been for 11 years now.
11 glorious years.
Yeah. And then also from time to time, I play with Tommy Stinson in the band Bash and Pop.
And I didn't know this about you until because I was only familiar with the Hold Steady stuff, but I posted in the Facebook group tied to this show that you were coming on, and some people mentioned you've done some stuff for films. Is that right?
I don't know why it says that. I mean, I have a very limited amount, but when my name comes up as film composer, I think just like a wrong box got checked or something.
Okay.
I mean, I have scored, like a number of documentaries, but it was all pretty indie stuff. It wasn't exactly like, a wide ranging film composer career or anything.
Well, shoot, because I was really excited to talk about it because I really want to get into that and I have no idea how, but I guess we won't talk about it.
Yeah. I've got no connections to offer you on that one.
Oh no, I'm back to square one. That's okay. That's fine. I'm used to it. But wow. Man, I saw when we got started on the other program, you had just a wall of guitars behind you, which is always a good place to start. What have you got back there? What are some of the gems?
Oh, let's see. Well, I have them sort of, organized. I have 3 of like the whatever 8 space racks or however many. I don't know. So I have like the 330 or the 3XX rack. So that's got like my casino. I have a lot of 335 style guitars because for a while there, when Gibson was in Memphis making the hollow body guitars, I would help them test out pickups.
Oh,
so I don't even know. Like the Memphis Historic Spec was what they landed on right when then they closed it down and moved to Nashville. So I don't know if they're making those anymore. But anyway, I helped them develop those, like, especially like taking them out on the road and playing them at volume and seeing how that worked.
Right.
So in doing that, there would be, they're like, try these pickups out, and they would, there'd be a guitar. Or I would do some video work for them, and the payment would be a guitar, which was nice. So that's why I have a lot of 3XX style guitars. Then there's like the Les Pauls. I got a few historic Les Pauls, which I have not played a Les Paul in a long time. It's just, how certain things just kind of cycle out of your focus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, Les Pauls are cycling out right now. And then some 70s Fenders. I got a 73 Tele Deluxe and a 76 Tele Custom. Yeah, the Tele Deluxe I got in like 2001. A good friend of mine who I used to work for at a vintage guitar store, he didn't have the store anymore, but he was still kind of dealing guitars. For whatever reason, he was just like, you need this guitar. He was probably just desperate to sell it, and he was selling me on it. But you got to understand that, like, in the 90s, like in vintage guitar, like that guitar was everything. It was the reason why there was a vintage guitar market.
Right.
it was just like, I mean, a
Nobody wanted it.
Telecaster and
Yeah.
name only. You know, it was like it's got two humbuckers. It's got a Les Paul style wiring. It's got a big headstock. It's got a cut. I mean, like a tummy cut. It's an abomination. You know, like we would keep them in like the back corner, and you know, if you gave us $500, we would be thankful for you to take them out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? So anyway, flash forward to 2001, and I fell in love with the guitar. I mean, the guitar found me for sure, and it's special to me. And I just started doing this weekly gig here in town because my band Big Ass Truck, I kind of was about to stop touring, and I discovered the wide range humbucker, and this is before they had gone nuts, you know.
Yeah.
And so I went down a rabbit hole with that. At one point, I had two. It's a mocha or walnut or whatever, you know, the brown.
Yeah, love that color.
Man, I do too. And every mocha Fender that I've come across has always been lightweight and always killer. I don't know if they use a certain type of, like, they selected the alder for it. I don't know. But anyway, not long after that, since I was home more, I started doing more sessions in town, and you know, kind of wanting to expand my toolkit, so to speak. And then my same buddy Rod came up with a 76 Tele Custom, and that became a special guitar as well. It weighs almost 10 pounds. It's the heaviest guitar that I own, and it's everything that was supposedly wrong with CBS Fender in the 70s. But man, the thing rings like a piano, and it just sticks to tape like nobody's business, or sticks to hard drive. So then I've recently, in the past, it's been past number of years, I kind of got into doing builds using MJT bodies and Musicraft necks. So I've got a Strat that I built in 2012, I think. Big Ass Truck was going to come back. We're going to have a reunion and play some shows. And I was looking at my Tele Deluxe thinking, like, man, this would have been the guitar for Big Ass Truck. But I had used a lot of whammy bar kind of stuff. I mean, because in Big Ass Truck, I played a Strat, like a straight up, you know, 3 single coil Strat. And I was like, well, what if we put the guts of the Tele Deluxe into a Strat body? And that begat this whole project or whatever. So I'm just like completely going down the line of these guitars and like going off on tangents.
That is perfectly okay. That's what this show is for.
so that gets me into kind of the rest of the bolt-on Fender kind of stuff. I just finished a build on a Fiesta Red Tele, and 2 years ago I did a Sonic Blue Tele. It came out so well, the Sonic Blue did, that I decided I needed a Fiesta Red to look at next to it.
Of course.
Yeah, like you do, you know. So I've got those two next to each other. It's really fun. I've got my old original Strat that I bought in the Arlington Guitar Show in 1994. It's a January of 83 Fullerton 62 reissue that was pretty much brand new when I got it, and now it looks like an old L series Strat. I mean, people think it's an old one, you know. I've got next to that a 73 Olympic white, or I think it's blonde actually, but you know, turned yellow Strat, and that was an interesting thing. Again, my buddy Rod was really needing some cash at this point, and so he had managed to find this guitar for $600, and he was like, I need gas and groceries, give me $700 for it. Like, he was desperate. He's all better now, but so I bought it thinking it was just going to be a Sunburst Strat. I mean, it was like it didn't have any original pickups or any of that, and I was like, well, I'll just flip it or part it out. So I bought it, and he came over, and I opened up the case, and it was a blonde, you know, really cool looking Strat. I was like, oh no. But I was just about to go on tour with the Hold Steady, and I just ate sandwiches on the bus and saved my per diem. and that was enough to pay for the guitar. It was a long enough tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And sandwiches are all right.
Sandwiches are great. I mean, they haven't fallen out of fashion. So
I'm a big sandwich fan, even, so it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to say about sandwiches,
and we might just get.
We could get there. Yeah,
we'll get there.
I've been craving a banh mi lately.
Ooh, I had an excellent one the other day.
Nice.
A good banh mi is hard to beat.
Oh, we have a robust Vietnamese community here in Memphis.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, and then getting on towards the end, you get in kind of the oddball section. So I've got 2 of the Squire Mascus Jazzmasters.
Great guitars.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a price performer. Jay was like very intentional about wanting it to be a cheap guitar that just plays amazing, like right out of the box, literally out of the box. So I've got one that's stock, except for I had somebody make a Bakelite black pickguard for it.
Nice.
And then I have another one that has the more traditional mods. Like it's got the Lawler P90 Jazzmaster pickups and the, better pots and caps and that kind of deal. One thing I found out to me is that shallers on those guitars make a huge improvement.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Like not just from a tuning stability standpoint, but like I was just literally bored one day. I had a set of made in West Germany, older shallers, just because I'm a Van Halen nerd.
Mm-hmm. That's a good enough reason. You don't have to explain yourself any further than
that. and I was just literally had nothing to do, and so I have a hand like reamer, and I just widen the holes and put those in. And I was amazed by like how much more resonant, and like the guitar like really woke up, and it was already a great guitar. But it really like just that mass, I guess, really helped things out.
That's good to know. I don't put much thought into tuners other than like, are they working or not? And does it feel good to turn the knob? That's about as far as I go with tuners.
I'm sort of a tuner snob aesthetically. Like I will like showers, like 3 on a side showers, like on a Gibson. No.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly. No, that's not okay.
Like Grovers only, But yeah, so those are great. And then I've got Rickenbacker 350, I believe it is. It's the little body, but with a long scale length.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen the 350.
Oh, it's so great. The Holt Steady was recording where we've done our last couple of albums, the Clubhouse up in Rhinebeck, New York. And downstairs, there was this like repair tech area, and there was this Rickenbacker sitting in the corner. And I was just like, oh, this is a cool little guitar. And I kind of fell in love with it. And the neck pickup didn't work, but the bridge pickup did. And like, I plugged it into a blonde Bandmaster and wound up like using it for so much of the certainly this last record and the record before that on some parts too. So when I got home to Memphis, I was like, I need that. I miss that guitar. So I found it was a 1991. So I went and found a 1991 black Rickenbacker 350, and it's great. It's it's that specific sort of color. It's not something I play a lot like on gigs or anything, but there's always a spot for it in a session.
Does it have the high gain?
It does. It does. Yeah. So
I'm the weirdo that prefers those to toasters. Honestly,
I'm right there with you, dude. Like it's People, because when I got it, I was like, "Oh, so yeah, you need to put the toasters in." I was like, I'm not. That's the thing, I'm not.
Yeah, every time people are like, you'll like that way better with toasters. I've played the toasters. I've played the toasters many times. They're fine. I don't understand the like general, just like, oh, the toasters are better. They're not.
Yeah, no,
they're not.
and the high gains aren't like some terrible thing to be ashamed of either.
And they're not even high gain.
No,
my Telecasters have more output than those things do. Like,
and I mean, Peter Buck used them. I mean, so that's a fun guitar. And then rounding it out with a Gretsch White Falcon with the thin body with it's got a center block of balsa, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the really weird stuff, like I got a Teisco, 4 pickup Teisco, like FT 450 or whatever. An ES Les Paul, which they don't make anymore.
ES Les Paul.
Yeah. For a while here in Memphis, they were making it like they really pulled off this coup to make these ES Les Pauls.
Is it the same thing as the 335S, where it's a solid body but 335 shape? Or?
No, it's a Les Paul built like a 335.
Oh, gotcha. So it's like a hollow body Les Paul.
It's got F holes. It's got a center block, binding on the back and front.
Cool.
Yeah, they're neat guitars. And then I've got my K value leader, which is a whole thing in and of itself.
In what way?
Okay, I'll tell the story. I told the story to Emily and Andrew just the other day, and I'll tell it again.
All right. I love Emily and Andrew.
Yeah, they're great.
Yes.
So for years, I've had this one Otis Spann record. Otis Spann is a piano player for all the chess record stuff, for a lot of it. And he's one of my favorites. This record in particular is so great. It's just, him singing and playing piano. Except for there's this one tune, Trouble in Mind, that has this most beautiful sympathetic guitar to it. And the tone was this really amazing thing. I was like, I don't know what kind of guitar that is. I don't know who that is playing. And I just could not, there was nothing listed. I searched and I searched. And then like sometime last year, somebody put up a video of Lonnie Johnson playing the song Another Night to Cry, playing a 1 pickup, neck pickup only, K value leader. And as soon as I heard the tone and his playing, I was like, that's the guy. That is the person playing guitar on that Otis Spann song. And because I knew about Lonnie Johnson, I listened to like the stuff he did with Eddie Floyd and, and so I was aware of the acoustic stuff from back in the day, but I didn't know about this electric stuff, and it kind of blew my mind. So I had to have one. I mean, it's like $300.
Right.
It's not, there's some Ks can get up there, but as so often is the case, I got one and turns out that I don't play like Lonnie Johnson. Oh, and there was no magical transformation in my playing. I still sounded like me, but it's such, I love it. And it'll be great when I can start playing out again. Cause like whenever I do gigs that are like more traditional blues kind of stuff, or I don't like playing acoustic guitars in public because they never sound good.
Never?
To my taste, they don't, especially if there's other people involved and you're all playing acoustics with the piezo pickup just being rammed into the same PA.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
So when I do things that are quote unquote, like, more typically acoustic, I like to use like that, or like I've got an old K arch top with a P90 in the neck position. I like to use that in a small amp rather than just the acoustic guitar. I mean, now recording is fine and all that, but with my dad, Sid Selvidge, his, musical friend and compatriot was Jim Dickinson, who was a producer, artist. He produced he played piano on Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones, produced a lot of great albums, replacements. Anyway, they all played together. They had a band called Mudboy and the Neutrons, and they all also had children, and we went on to play instruments as well. So they're Dickinson's kids, Luther and Cody Dickinson, have the North Mississippi All-Stars. And we just grew up to playing music together. And then we played the music that we learned from our fathers, and our fathers learned it straight from the source. Like they learned from Furry Lewis.
Right.
Like Furry and my dad were good friends. We used to go over to his house. So there's a picture of me, like still in diapers, probably like little, 2 years old, sitting on Furry's bed, hanging out. So those would be the situations where I was playing, traditional blues kind of stuff. Casey Jones going to Brownsville and stuff like that. So that's the kind of rig I like to use for that.
Makes sense.
And,
Pencils.
Yeah. And then on the far other corner, piled into a corner, is my sweet Hondo corner.
Hondo corner. You got a whole corner dedicated to the Hondo.
I've got the Hondo. It's like a copy of a Charvel Star.
Mm-hmm.
One pickup, just total Van Halen kind of scene. I've got a Hondo copy of a BC Rich Bitch, I think. I think that's the model. And then I've got the Hondo Randy Rhoads V, like the Jackson, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have a thing about Hondo guitars.
Where'd that come from?
Initially, it was the Jackson Randy Rhoads V, because Chicago Music Exchange had one for like $400, and it was just sat up there forever. Like nobody was biting on it. And I didn't want to spend the money, but the thing is that when I was in the 7th grade, my best friend Jerry Baker was the kind of kid that would, kind of in a little, sort of a bad boy move, look around his mom's house for all the Christmas presents, peek.
Right.
And so, I mean, he was going at it, man. Like he was looking under beds and stuff, and he pulled out this case, and it was a red Hondo Randy Rhoads V with Grover tuners. And that was a big thing for me. Cause like, my dad's J45 had Grovers on it. The guitar player in Mudboy and the Neutrons, Lee Baker, he just happened to have a 1959 Les Paul Standard.
Oh, just happened to.
Yes. That was his guitar. That was when he played guitar electric, that's what he played. And it had Grovers on it. So I was like, yeah, Grovers, man. So anyway, that memory was so strong, and I just kept popping up on, social media and stuff or whatever, eBay. And finally got sick of thinking about it. So I just bought it. And then, I look at it more than I play it, but it's fine. It's a good guitar. Sounds good, plays good. All those Hondos have fairly beefy necks, which was, not the norm in the mid 80s like that. Yeah. So that was a really long-winded tour of some of my guitars.
I like it. We like long-winded tours.
Yeah. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. The thing I want to get back to, and this is stepping several guitars back now, but I want to talk about it because I know we have a shared love of this. The wide range humbucker. I have not played an original wide range humbucker guitar. I have not yet played one that I didn't like. I played Matt Hoops, who is behind 1981 Inventions and played in Reliant K for a really long time. I was at his house a couple of years ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you like wide range humbuckers? You got to play this Tele Deluxe. I think it's a 74."
Yes.
And I still think about that guitar all the time. And he was like, "I told you this was a special one." And it was like, man, that thing haunts my dreams. I have a 74 Custom that I absolutely love.
Yes. What color is it?
It's black.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is what spurred this podcast off. Yeah. Comment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I was like, oh, I've been meaning to talk to him, so I shot you a message real quick. But yeah, that thing is, I love it. It's kind of funny because when I first bought that, I did not own a Telecaster. I had primarily Gibson style guitars, and I was like, when I get a Tele, I'm gonna get a Tele. I'm going to get one with a maple neck, standard loadout. I'm getting a Tele.
Right.
And I saw that pop up at a local vintage store. And I was like, ooh, that thing looks really cool. I'm going to go play it. I probably won't buy it. I'll bring the money just in case, but I'm probably not going to buy it. And I went in with my buddies. I strummed like 2 chords, and I was like, take my money. Like, here is all my money, and I walked out with it, and it's still one of my like go-tos. Every time I play it, it makes me so happy. And I've played a handful of other original 70s wide range humbucker guitars, and they're all just I don't
year
understand.
What year did you buy it?
I bought it in probably 2014 or 15.
Okay, so that's when the word was more than well out about them at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't experienced one prior to that, but I'd heard good things. But I still was like, I'm going to get a telly. And now I've got this
Yeah.
the most Les Paul Telecaster, rosewood neck, Les Paul controls, humbucker in the neck.
I mean, like you get the bridge pickup is where it's kind of and the headstock shape is about where it begins and ends.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know it at the time, but I guess the rosewood ones are harder to find. I had no idea when I bought it.
Yeah, mine is a maple neck. God, I was just thinking about this. I think this morning, somebody. Do you follow Sesco's Corner on Instagram? He's an Italian guy. He always has just amazing custom color strats. I guess he's a guitar dealer in Italy.
Okay,
but anyway, he put up a picture of a 76 Sunburst Tele Custom with a rosewood neck.
Ooh,
and I had a Tele Custom with a rosewood neck and like a 73 or 74, and it just wasn't as it was great. It was more just, I think just the body and neck itself just never kind of came together. I don't know, whatever. I sold it, and now I'm like, why did I sell that guitar?
I just pulled it up and I'm looking at it. Oh, yeah.
So,
that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
So that was the deluxe, but yeah, I had a custom that was just like that, and I did manage to make a recording of. I have a song that I did where, and this is like maybe early computer recording, but anyway, in the song, I ran a Univox Super Fuzz into a Marshall battery powered amp.
Nice.
And then I put the amp in the dryer.
Oh,
and
okay.
And then I did a lead with that. But
did you close the mic in the dryer, or
yes,
how did that work?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But didn't turn the dryer on, so that would have been dicey. But yeah, man. Do you know the story of why Keith got that guitar?
I don't.
Okay, so they were on tour with the Meters, and the amazing instrumental funk band from New Orleans. Aaron Neville, not Aaron Neville, but Art Neville on keys. Anyway, the guitar player Leo Nocentelli was playing a Starcaster.
Oh yes, okay.
He had was sort of known for playing tellies, but and cut a lot of that stuff with the telly. The early stuff was a 175, but anyway, but he bought the Starcaster, and so the Meters are opening up for the Rolling Stones, and Keith saw that Starcaster and was just like, right, I've got to have one. So like wherever they were when he first saw it, wherever the local store was, they went to the music store and was like, I need a Starcaster, but they didn't sell a lot of Starcasters, I guess. Wasn't popular back then. So the closest they had was a Tele Custom. He just saw the pickup, was like, well, I guess I'll get this. I like Tellies, I'll just get this instead. And that was it. That's how he wound up with that one.
Wow. It's a very good instrument. I mean, I like you said, the word's gotten out. It's actually kind of insane to me that they were ever like, I understand that they're like almost not a Telecaster, but it's for how good my experiences have been with them.
Yeah.
It's almost insane to me that they were like the throwaway
junk. Yeah.
Like nobody wanted them. Nobody.
Well, because just everybody had their heads up their ass about what was right and what was wrong. I mean, that the vintage guitar, it's so weird to me because like now, technically a guitar, if you bought a guitar brand new in 1991, it would be a vintage guitar.
Right.
If you're looking at like the car, 20 years or whatever. And you're looking at me being a young Gen Xer at the time, surrounded by a lot of just boomers, really, and maybe on the younger edge of the boomers, but they had their concept of what was old. But like, in 2014 to a 20-year-old kid, 1973 is really old.
Yeah, it is.
And people look at me that way. So, their perception of what's cool and what's correct is different, than someone else's. I mean, there was a time in the vintage guitar world with, like, say, a Strat, if it wasn't Buddy Holly, two-tone sunburst, maple neck, single plot pick guard, get it out of here. Like, well, you have a Fiesta Red 63 Strat? No, thanks.
Yeah, gross. Ew.
Yeah. It's like, that's not right. That's not pure. And then like around about 1988 at one guitar show, some dude just like doubled down on a custom color Strat, and then that went crazy. So yeah, I mean, one man's junk or whatever, but people realize that they're good guitars in and of themselves. I mean, if it's like, if you're looking to be whatever, Red Volkert or Roy Buchanan, that's not the guitar for you. But if you're looking for an amazing sounding pickup that has has a wide range of applications,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're great, and like that now, it's like it sparked a whole industry.
Yeah, I mean, there for a while, I don't think they're in business anymore, but there was a company called Telly. What was it? Oh, why can't I remember the name? Telematic. That's not right. It was a very small, like, one-man operation that was making vintage correct with the right magnets, blah 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 blah.
Q-Knife, yeah.
And they were like $600. They were expensive
for a set.
Yeah, and like, even at the time, it was like, man, if I'm gonna spend that, I gotta spend this much on a guitar that's gonna fit them.
Yeah,
and then I gotta spend that much on pickups. Like, might as well find an original one.
Yeah,
like, might as well, right? And I think the prices are probably still. They might have went a little crazy. 2020 really made prices explode on everything. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that. I can't remember Telinator. I can't remember. They're not around anymore. They couldn't source the magnets. But then
right.
I think it was last year at NAMM or around that time, Fender like got with a foundry.
Yeah,
got them to make the right magnets. Of course, Fender can order them at the volume that makes sense, right?
Right.
But I don't know if those guitars have ever came out or not.
I think they have. I saw something advertised as Q-Knife with their latest thing. I mean, and it took them. I think that sort of hype finally swayed them to come correct with those, because I've got a 1999 Telly Thinline with the two wide ranges, and like back then, Fender's their wide range pickups were just a regular humbucker with
a cover on it,
offset slugs and screws. Yeah, I mean there was with just exactly. So that's good that they finally got hip to that. I mean, was Novak one of the first?
Novak was one of the first to do it right. Yeah, and then who is it out of the UK?
It's Creamtone, right? Is it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yep, that's them. And then there's been a handful of other ones. Righteous Sound recently made one called the Galaxy, and I have that in a guitar, and it's really good. It's a regular humbucker size, wide range humbucker, and it sounds great. And he made it to where you can coil tap it, and normally I don't really like coil taps,
right?
And I really like it on this. It sounds really good. Sounds like a Telly, like when you split it. Sounds like a Telecaster pickup.
Wow. Yeah, I've got the Lawlers. That's what I use whenever I'm doing it.
Lawlers are fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
I pretty much put Lawlers in everything. Both of my Tellys that I built have the Telly specials, and God, I love them so much.
Have you ever messed with the Lawler gold foils?
No, but I want to.
Oh man.
I mean, I know. Like, I'm kind of late to the gold foil party, I guess. But
well, that's because there's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, I really, I don't. I haven't.
Not in the nice boutique winders, but like the original gold foil pickups can be awesome, and they can also be horrible. They're very inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, and I like my Teisco, and I didn't go full on into the bizarre guitar or like the whole white stripy whatever else.
Yeah, black keys.
Yeah. I was just, I don't know. I mean, it's cool and all, but I never gravitated towards that because the guitars are, I mean, they have their limitations. I mean, that's the point, right?
Yeah. They're very inconsistent, and that's part of the charm, but you also have to sift through a lot of garbage.
Right. So it's good to be able to just like, this is a good one right here. Yes. And the wide range Strat that I have for the longest time, it was just the two, Lala Regals, but there's like, the negative space in between them that finally got to me. So I put a Burns Trisonic in there.
Nice.
Yeah. But if I were ever to do a build like that again, I would probably put a gold foil in the middle.
So I've got this this hollow body baritone made by Grez Guitars out of California, and it has the Lawler gold foils in the neck and bridge. And I'm telling you, this guitar is one of the best sounding things I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like a piano.
Are they hot?
No, they're not. They're not that hot. They're pretty mild. I'd say they're slightly. I haven't measured them, obviously. Right. I'd say they're slightly less output than like a regular Tele pickup. But man, whoo, it's that thing just sounds absolutely insane. Clean, dirty, whatever. It's
right.
Tune it down to B, and
like you do.
Yeah, and just go. it's so much fun.
That sounds really cool. I just got one of those 90s Dan Electro baritones, and it's in bad shape.
I'm becoming a baritone. I mean, I only have two, but I play them so often. And they're both kind of weird. The one's that Grez and the other's made by Millimetric out of Canada.
Whoa.
And his stuff is pretty trippy. It's very like, I don't know what you would call it. It's very modern, but not in a way not in a pointy way. It's more of like a 50s, like 50, whatever you call that, like not postmodern,
mid-century
modern. Yeah. It's kind of like that, a little bit space agey.
Right. It's a beautiful aesthetic, man. I mean,
and Florian makes great guitars. I'm really glad I got in there when I did, because now I think he's at like a 1.5 or 2 year wait, and he's like totally cut off orders. And I'm like, whoo, got in early. Like,
yeah, I know. Like Scott Baxendale just has like his minions do everything, for him. Like he's got a lot of people doing Baxendale conversions that he's taught how to do. I don't know if you're hip to Baxendale.
I am. Nick Greer, Greer Amps, really big fan of those guitars, and he sent me a cell phone, like just recording of some of his conversions he has.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is unreal sound, and how good this sounds on just an iPhone recording. I
can't
imagine what it sounds like in person.
I had one. I had a K, big kind of jumbo K acoustic flat top, that I had Scott do, and I actually sold it to pay for this Tele build. I love acoustic guitar, but I'm not an acoustic guitar player. Like, I'm an electric guitar player. I mean, I have acoustics and I use them. I mean, I've got a 59 J45. Like, I'm good,
It's hard to go wrong there. I mean, you kind of got it.
And, I have my dad's 62 J45 now that he's passed, but it's, so I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I mean, I don't make my bread and butter with it. So I weigh it, the ever evolving gear pile.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really an electric guitar player. I try to kid myself sometimes, because I really enjoy acoustic music, and some of my favorite stuff is just singer-songwriter acoustic. But that ain't me.
Yeah.
It just isn't. I need all the effects. I need all of the fuzz. I need all of the everything. I just like the way it feels on the couch. Like I don't sit around the house and play acoustic guitar. I should. I'd be a better guitar player if I did. But there's a couple of things, like, when it's like a family situation, especially like with my in-laws, or anywhere really where I'm just with people, staying at someone's house or whatever, I never bring an acoustic. I always bring an electric guitar. I understand.
Because like no one's going to ask you to play like a song and sing a song for them. if you're just noodling licks on an electric, no one's going to bother you. But if you have an acoustic, it's like the campfire songs come out, which are fine. That's great. But sometimes you don't want to do it, especially like for me, like just, it's my job, and so when I'm kicking it with, the in-laws or something, I don't necessarily want to like,
play Wonderwall.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. And the other thing too is like people love to tease me about this, my wife included, is that, like camping, man, always an electric.
Nice. I like your style. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, like I had just gotten, it was like 2016, I think it was. And I'd just gotten like a AVRI, like 52 Telly reissue. And I'd also recently had bought like a custom shop 56 Strat reissue that was at my local music store. It just looked so good. Like I had to buy it. I sold it eventually, but anyway, when we went camping, those are the two guitars I took, and I was like setting them up on like against a tree and taking pictures of them and stuff. It was,
I mean, I see no problem with this. This seems perfectly normal,
right?
Reasonable to me. I think it's fine. No, you don't deserve any teasing whatsoever, because I've never done that. I'll never ever. Well, I want to go off on a tangent, but I'll be in trouble if I don't get to a couple of these Facebook questions from the group. So Emily is calling you a traitor, so we can go. There's that.
Why am I a traitor?
Because you came on this show.
Oh,
that's Emily from Get Offset for all the listeners. I knew she was going to be the first person to comment. She's a massive Hold Steady fan. But let's scroll through here and see what we have.
Yeah, she was asked. She was like, "So, you're going to be on the?" I was like, "How do you know I'm going to be on this podcast?"
I post when I have people that I'm like fairly certain that there's a couple thousand people in that group. When I'm fairly certain that there's going to be somebody that somebody has heard of before in some capacity, I'll ask for questions, and that's how she found out. So she's pretty active in there. But I'm going to butcher your last name, Mike. I apologize in advance. I don't know how to say this, but Mike Mangaladan, hopefully, he says, how about, is it difficult to find your space in tone and parts with 3 guitars and keys in the band?
Difficult, I would say no. Because, well, for one thing, like with Finn, he isn't always like playing guitar, and he's, not, he might be holding it, but it's not like competing with myself or Tad.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think so. I mean, it just worked out the way it worked out. And I never once was like, what am I going to do? I mean, because, when Franz came back, I mean, his parts were obviously clearly mapped out, and, and I had made space for myself, and there's many times where I'm just more than happy just to not play, I love space. But no, it all, I think we were all very conscious of making this space together, and, so it just, I don't know. It all seemed to work out.
All right. Sounds good. There's a lot of just general, and this also happens quite often, of just, oh, I'm so stoked. I love that band. Tell him I love him. There's just a lot of that stuff.
Well, I love you too.
Which, Peter, he said that. Let's see who else said that. Andrew said that. So that's a reoccurring theme. We've got a couple more questions here, though. We got one from Sonia Leaf. She's a big supporter, so shout out Sonia. If he had to play an instrument in a band full-time besides guitar, what would he choose? And she also wanted to mention that his lead line on Denver Haircut just jumps out of my speakers every time she hears it. So there you go.
Thanks. Well, so in this theoretical, hypothetical situation, would I be good at this other instrument? I mean, I guess I would have to.
I would assume you'd be at least competent.
I mean, I think I'm like a lot of guitar players that I love to get behind a drum kit.
Oh, I do. I love it. Nobody
Yeah.
else does, but I do.
Yeah. I'm so I like Tad's such a good drummer. It's really like demoralizing to me because I'm just not. I started out playing drums,
Oh, okay.
but it was just I was like in the 4th grade or something, but it just wasn't as fun to play by myself in my room playing drums. And
Yeah.
guitar chose me. I mean, it was clear what my path was. But to answer her question, I would say drums for sure.
Drums. And I have a feeling I know the answer to this already, but Blake Lawson wants to know who the biggest gear hound in the band is.
Me or Tad. It's pretty much there's certain things that I nerd out more about than Tad does, but I mean we are very similar in that respect. So we're just like one. Put us together and we're like a gear wolf, maybe. I don't know.
A gear bear.
A gear bear.
All right, and I think the last one. Oh, that's actually from Emily here. This is a good one.
Okay.
Especially for somebody from Memphis. Ask him which historic places music tourists should check out.
In Memphis.
I'm assuming.
Well,
Sun Studio's got to be
Sun
one.
Studio would be the start.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that give tours there. And so yeah, it's amazing. I mean, being in that room is, tours are tours, but there's something palpable being in that room.
Yes.
I mean, I've recorded in that room, and look, Elvis is a complicated thing, but he did sing the way he sang in that room, regardless of where he might have gotten the source from. And it was a thing. And not only that, but like Howlin' Wolf was in that room. I mean,
so many people.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer of all the voodoo that happens that stays in the fiber of the walls, and all the metaphysical and psychoacoustic and every other kind of thing you want to make up a word for. But that kind of soul is, it's for real. So yeah, there's Sun. I mean, there's the Stax Museum, which is great. I mean, again, like this really just emphasizes the complicated nature of Memphis music, is that, the Stax Museum, like Stax went out of business and the banks kind of, in town just let them hang out to dry, and they tore the building down. And now they literally built a replica of the building and studio, and, but it's great because it does a lot for the community, and a lot to just, forward music making in general, and then specifically just the community around. So it's well worth checking out. Not specifically musical, but certainly there's a lot of music, that involved. But the Civil Rights Museum is a must. If you come to Memphis, you must go to the Civil Rights Museum.
Mm-hmm.
You could take 3 days and still, come back for more. It's like exhaustive, the amount of information and how well it's laid out. It's powerful. So yeah, I'd say that's a good start.
Yeah, those are my Memphis highlights. I don't live there, obviously, but
Yeah.
I have been there, and that's what I would have said as well. And I would just add, like, it's definitely a touristy thing, but for an out of towner, going down to Beale Street when you can, actually like enjoy it properly is pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
Cool. That's cool.
It's not something I would want to do if I lived there, though.
No, God. No.
I'd be staying far away. It's
Yeah.
like, I've compared it to Nashville's Broadway, but like way cooler.
Yeah. Depending on who's playing. And I have friends that play down there, and like, there's some of the coldest, bad MFers, and so if they're playing, then yeah, there's other things that are, it's not my bag, but and it's certainly it's just like bad rock cover bands or whatever.
Yeah, there's some of that.
It's like, yeah, I'm really getting the feeling of, Black Main Street. When you're playing Give Me Three Steps.
Right. Oh yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And this Puddle of Mud cover is really doing it for me right now.
Yeah.
It's really getting me fun.
But the history of it's amazing. My memories of Beale Street as a child were because downtown was dead skis. Like there's nothing down there. And I remember driving down Beale Street and everything was boarded up.
Oh, wow.
Like total ghost town, like Beirut looking. And I remember all the plywood had been painted like orange and yellow and like these big bright colors. It was kind of surreal.
That's crazy. But yeah, I think those hit the good musical highlights. That's
I'm here for barbecue suggestions as well.
Oh, I was planning on getting into that into Patreon, but since we're here, I mean, let's do it. We still got a few minutes here.
Okay,
hit me with your barbecue suggestions.
Okay, well, for ribs, I go to Cozy Corner.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a good shoulder sandwich. It's interesting though; they slice the shoulder and serve it on a hoagie.
Oh, okay,
which is very different from the norm. But usually for sandwiches, I go to Payne's. They have this amazing magical slaw that has no mayonnaise in it, and it's bright yellow, and it's amazing.
That sounds like my kind of slaw. I'm very picky with my slaw.
Yeah, I am too. I don't get along with mayonnaise too well, but and then so those are like the two magic places that are just like special, like and then there's Tops Barbecue, which is it's just a good regular shoulder sandwich. I mean, it's delicious. It's nothing like super special and it's a chain here in town, but they also make an amazing cheeseburger. So I like to go there and get the cheeseburger and then get a small barbecue sandwich on the side of sandwich.
With a side of sandwich. Yeah, I went to Tops and I think because I'm a tourist, right? My expectations were a little too high.
Yeah.
And I went and we were like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, it was like good. And then I was looking at the burgers coming out and I was like, I should have got that. That's clearly looks better.
Yeah. That's where the magic is at Tops, is at their burgers. That's where you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, I call it serviceable. I mean, it's good barbecue. It really is genuinely good barbecue, but it's just middle of the road, nothing, it's just regular workaday barbecue or whatever.
Barbecue Shop was a highlight for me.
That's a good one.
I really liked their ribs. The ribs was good. And I was really skeptical about the barbecue spaghetti. I was like,
oh no, it's so good.
And then I had some and I was like, no, this is fantastic. Oh man, that was good. I really enjoyed Barbecue Shop. Enjoyed Central.
Central, yeah, you know what? Yes, Central, like their ribs are so good.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I was like not on board with Central just because it was like wasn't some funky shack in some out of the way place or and I realized quickly that I was very wrong about that because their ribs. I'm getting hungry.
I am too. I had lunch yet.
Their ribs are. I mean, God, their rib. They do it right. They got good chicken wings too.
Yeah, I like both of those items from there, and I'm kicking myself for not when I was there. We didn't get to Rendezvous, and I feel like that's kind of a crime, right?
I don't know. Again, that's sort of like Beale Street. I mean, they don't need my endorsement because it's so powerful. That place just about runs itself. It's an experience. It's none of my Memphian barbecue eating friends ever go there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like their ribs.
Okay.
I've always found them to be pretty tough. They actually have a really good shoulder sandwich though. I mean, it's like it's buried on the menu and it's nothing anybody gets excited about, but it's a proper pulled pork shoulder sandwich. I mean, it's about that is solely about the environment, the ambience, the experience of it. And I don't know. It's just it's like I've Memphians that take pride in the fact that they've never been to Graceland. It's that sort of thing.
Ah, gotcha. I understand. I mean, I get it. There's places like that in town here where I'm like, eh. Yeah, I think it's like that anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you live there, it's like, I'm not going there.
Right.
That's not the spot. That's where the tourists go. But when you're a tourist, you kind of have to.
Right.
Like, it's kind of weird like
experiential.
that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a madhouse in there. And it takes, you wait forever. And, it's like, man, I can just go over here and just be all good.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for the barbecue recommendations.
Yo.
Yeah. I think this is actually a perfect point to start to segue into the final questions of the show.
Oh, is it happened that fast?
I know this is
not like we just got started.
Well, there's still Patreon, so maybe we did just get started. Maybe we did.
Thank goodness.
So before we get into those, though, this is the point where I like to give people the opportunity to put up a billboard. If you want to tell your aunt that you love her, or if you want to plug anything, or if you have a message you want to get out to a few thousand people, now's a good time to do it.
Well, if anybody's here because they saw my name and they know me, then they probably already know that my band, The Hold Steady, has a new record out called Open Door Policy. But if you don't know, go buy it.
There you go.
On vinyl. Several times. No, I don't know. Yeah, that's the new. I've got a project called MEMMODS, MEM_MODS. This is the worst name ever. It's something, it's like so many people, I'm sure it's a pandemic project. A friend of mine sent me a file over the summer. I played guitar on it, and that turned into like 14 songs.
Nice.
12 of which are on this album that I'm going to release myself on my dad's label, Peabody.
Very cool.
So that, I hope that should be out by late summer. It's like instrumental. It's kind of a lot of things, funky, sort of groovy ambient kind of stuff.
Very cool.
So that's coming out, but I'm still in the process of working that out. So yeah, I think that's it. Is
that it? All right, cool. I'm excited to hear that. That sounds like my business.
Yeah.
All right, final questions. Here we go.
Okay.
Number 1, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
Boss PH1R.
PH1R. What's
Yep.
PH1R? Why can't I picture that in my head?
So there's the original, I think Boss Phaser, like the original block of 4, right? Whatever.
Yep.
The Spectrum, and that was just a 2-knob phaser. And then they added a resonance knob, hence the R.
Gotcha. You prefer that one?
Yeah, that's been my only phaser for years. Because back in the 90s when I had big ass truck, I had a big ass pedal board. I had 2 Mutron phaser 2s.
Nice.
One deep and slow, one shallow and fast. I mean, that's like some people have pedal boards smaller than those 2 pedals.
Yeah, they're huge.
But they died, man. They always die. And I could never, like, there's one component that keeps them from being remade. Somebody has restarted the brand Mutron, and I bought one of their phasers, and it was so close, man. It was so close because that phaser is so unique, but it's in the turnaround. So like, if it's in the cycle of the swoosh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When it's coming back,
it comes back. It makes a hard turn. If that makes any sense. And, so anyway, I just got, while I love the Mutrons, I just got so used to the Boss Phaser, and it's really like, especially in this project that I was telling you about, this MEMMODS project, like I never used an amp once.
You don't use an amp at all? Just all direct?
All direct. And like, not like, amp modeling. Like, I've got a UA Apollo, and there's, one of their Unison preamps is the Century tube channel or something like that. Century channel. And there's all these presets, and this guy John Paterno has his presets, and one was DI funk guitar, and I plugged that Sonic Blue Telly into that, and I loved it.
Wow.
I mean, it's like Prince, Sly. I mean, just which is like some of my favorite stuff. And so then in this project, I just kind of wound up with what is, and I've been kind of, circling around this sound for a while, but it's just my space funk guitar. So it's just wah pedal, a little bit of compression, that phaser, and I've got my L cap delay. And like I could play for hours on that sound, bridge pickup. Just it's really, if it was strange, I found it's not like I'm going to use only that sound. Like I obviously couldn't really use that with the Hold Steady, but like it is the most, I feel like it's the most clear representation of who I am as a guitar player.
Oh, wow.
And the Boss PH one is a big part of that. So yeah, that's that, like to the point where I had like taken a bunch of pedals off my board to take to New York with me for these Hold Steady shows. And the phaser got knocked off and like fallen into the back of a combo or something. And I couldn't find it. And I was bugging out. I have several of them, but like this one is special because I had it all the way back to the big ass truck days. And I was legit like, oh my God, what if something happened to that pedal? I was really upset. But yeah, so that's my long answer. Boss PH1R.
There you go. I like it. All right. This is the last question. And this is the one that gets people, a little bit riled up, a little bit, families have split apart over it. Yeah, it's serious. It's a big deal. What kind of pizza do you like?
I like all of it, but I'll pick one. Look, I will fully enjoy a Red Baron pizza in the right moment, but it's no longer there. But Carmine's on the corner of Manhattan and Meserole in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Just a regular slice, magic New York pizza. I'm sure you get a lot of that.
Yeah, but I'm there. I'm here for it. I love my New York slices.
Yeah. This is like, I used to spend a lot more time in Greenpoint because the Hold Steady was working in a different way. Now we just sort of convene and it's just a little bit more official or whatever. But, for a while, like I would just stay with Tad at his place in Greenpoint and, we'd be rehearsing or doing promo or stuff like that. But like we just need like, I was needed in New York for, weeks, months or whatever. And Bobby, the drummer of the Hold Steady, helped open up a bar in Greenpoint called Lake Street. So it'd just be like, hanging out at Lake Street and then just walking home, getting a slice from Carmine's. Carmine was like this ancient dude who would like be asleep in the corner. And it was just a proper slice, man. I have such fond memories of just kind of, swerving down the road, eating the late night slice. I was upset when it went away, but that's the way that things happen in the world, I guess. But
I guess. Yeah. I love New York pizza. I've said it many times on the show where it's like, I honestly was skeptical before I'd actually been there. I was like, it looks like pizza. Like looking at the pictures, right? Like it looks like pizza. What I don't understand. And then I had it in several different places, and I was like, oh, there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the pizza itself or if it's the whole New York experience compounded with the excellent pie. I don't know what all the magic combination is, but there is something special about a straight up cheese slice.
I agree that I do think that the water, whatever mineral content in New York water is a component.
I believe that.
Because it's the same with bagels.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And then, I've had similar in other places that was good. And, it gets better depending on how late at the night it is. But yeah, no, it could be the experience, but, I was certainly loving this pizza and I was nowhere near Manhattan,
Yeah, it's I think the water is something to it. And I know, and people give me crap about this, but I stand by it. Portland has really good pizza. We do. And we also have some really excellent bagels and baked goods. And also, we have really good water.
Right.
We have really good tap water. It's different tasting. This sounds like a weird thing to be, but I'm kind of like a tap water snob.
No,
Like-
that's not weird at all. That I am 100% in agreement with you, because Memphis we're on top of an aquifer. We have like famously good water as well, and it's part of our cultural identity as Memphians. So I am right there with you 100%.
Like, so I think Portland area has really great water, both well and from the city taps. It's pretty good. Memphis, I found, had really great water. New York, I was like, let's see. Like, I'm literally like sampling the tap. Like, let's see if this has. And I'm like, oh, yep, this is different, but this is good water.
Yep.
And Anaheim, California has a horrible water, the worst water.
So you gotta deal with NAM and have bad water.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to stay hydrated. It's California, but I'm like, this water is terrible. It's so bad. And I feel kind of like weird and hipstery when I say that, but I think it's true.
Yeah, well, I don't worry. I will always sound more hipstery since since we're on top of an artesian well. I can say that our water is artisanal. That's
right. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast.
I'm so glad that you asked me to do this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it was. I agree. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe we can do it again sometime.
I am always available.
Sweet, dude. All right, everyone. For Steve, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Ah, man, that was fantastic. Wasn't that great? Steve was a great dude. That was so much fun. Getting to know people through this podcast is a totally unique experience. It's like, okay, I'm going to schedule this meeting with a stranger. Well, not always a stranger, but oftentimes it's a stranger. And I'm going to have a long talk with them. And it's like the most unique thing. I don't think that happens in very many other formats where it's like, I'm going to sit down with somebody I've never talked to before, for the most part, and we're going to talk. And I have to be engaged. I have to listen. I have to pay attention. It's been an extremely rewarding journey, and getting to meet people like Steve is just tremendous, and it wouldn't be possible without you listening and without the supporters of the show. Speaking of the supporters of the show, they're going to get more conversation with Steve and I. You go to patreon.com/tonemob for $5 a month. You can get extra conversations delivered to your ears every week. Generally, that is an extended interview with that week's guest. It's a lot of fun. If you like the show, if you get anything out of it, please consider throwing a couple bucks at that and getting even more entertainment to your ears. It's a good time, and thank you so much to the patrons of the show. I mean, it's insane that you guys allow me to keep doing this, and, things just keep going and keep going. So tell a friend, rate and review, all that good stuff. If you really like this episode, hit me up, let me know. Check it out on the socials. I'm posting a ton of content all the time on Instagram. And of course, you can always join the community on the Tone Mob Facebook page, where there are a few thousand of us being dorks and having a great time. All right, let's get you on to something else. You got a more professional thing to listen to, I'm sure. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website. and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.